So I spent the last, honestly, like hour and a half just boning up on especially Don't Worry Darling, because and then I decided, you know what, the movie was not that good. You shouldn't be putting so much work and thought into like your commentary on it. But I just wanted to understand what the fuck she was trying to do, what she was trying to say. And honestly, coming away from it, and this is like probably gonna make the show because I'm talking pre-show banter, but like I think she didn't, I mean, whatever. I don't want to talk too bad about her, but it was a bit of a mess. I don't know if you read up on it, but like there was an original script. Apparently, the grandsons of Dick Van Dyke wrote it, and there was some sort of like it was like um the best unproduced script of 2019 or second best. So she found it and they changed the ending. And the ending was a lot more drawn out. Um, and they switched it up. And yeah, you know,
Yeah, you'll have to break that down a little bit. I definitely had my feelings about that show, or about that movie.
oh, I know.
Um,
And actually, I almost texted you something about like I read like probably six or seven different reviews, and all of them were basically saying the end either you're gonna love it, or you're gonna hate it. Um, but in my defense, I'll just say is one of them basically said the end actually just gets to the point, like it actually gets to the message of the movie. Whereas the first two parts, I found it annoying and plotting and pointless and meandering. But maybe other people thought, oh no, intrigue, like this is cool, like she's humming this fucking melody, what the fuck is this melody? And I'm just kind of like, I don't know, and I don't care, it's annoying.
Hey guys, welcome to All Pop No Culture. Thanks for listening this week. This week we're going to cover, as you heard a second ago, we're going to talk about Don't Worry Darling, streaming over on HBO. We are going to talk about Black Panther Wakanda Forever. There will be spoilers in that. There will be spoilers in Don't Worry Darling. We are going to talk also about Barbarian, which we will also spoil. I think that was playing over on HBO. And then finally, our other big topic of conversation is Andor, which we talk about more than we probably should, but we talk about it a lot and we talk about it often, so why not stick with who we are? Go ahead and if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe down below. Give us a like if you like what we're saying. Don't forget to leave a comment if you've got a comment to leave, and enjoy the show.
I also watched Warrior Nun season 2 on Netflix.
Not me.
With Captain America's real life girlfriend.
For the new one?
And it's not new. They've been together for like a year.
Oh right, yeah, but just came out. Yeah.
She's 25. She's a little baby. She's cute though. She's real cute.
Yeah, I think he has a type. He likes the olive toned women between her and then the other one. I forget her name, but she was in Everything Everywhere All at Once. She's cute. You know what I'm talking about?
Jamie Lee Curtis?
No. You're funny. No, the one who had the dog in the purse. She's a comedian. Fuck. Hold on. Let me
Oh, yeah, Jenny Slate.
Thank you. Yeah. Jenny Slate.
Yeah, I forgot about her. I always forget that he dated her.
He actually they broke up because she got
freaked out, right?
Well, everyone was saying you're not good enough for him. Like you're homely, and it fucked with them to the point where like we can't do this.
Yeah, it's messed up. I think she's pretty and she's funny. So, whoever's next on the list for her is a lucky guy, I think.
Agreed.
Alva Baptista is cute. She's like I said, she's 25, but she's doing good for herself. The Warrior Nun is not what I'd call a great show, but it's a fun show. The biggest complaint, I think, this predates you guys, because the first season was a long time ago. Now it's been like 2 years. I don't know why it took so long to make a second season. Excuse me, but
COVID.
It could very well be, and we talked about it on the show a long time ago. But how like the first season just like ends and cuts off, and it feels like there's supposed to be like 15 more minutes or another episode or something, and it just stops. And you're just, when it ends, you're like, what? They're just like, cool, see you next time. and then it took him forever to come back. So the second season wasn't too bad. I mean, it's a bit of a corny show. Literally the girl she dies, and she's brought back to life because the halo of an angel kind of fuses itself into her back, brings her back to life, and now she's got all these powers, and she's got to fight bad guys, and she's a warrior nun.
That's awesome. I like it.
It's a silly premise, but it's fun. She's good in it. The action's fun. I'm trying to think. I don't know that there's any real names in it. But it was kind of a fun find on Netflix. So if you're looking for something to watch that's just a little bit of a, kick back and watch and have a good time show, it's not bad.
Well, speaking of shows, I mean, why don't we just dive right into it? We're all caught up on Andor, right?
Yes.
Yeah. This was a good episode of Andor.
I don't know that there is a better series on television that I can recall than Andor. Like, I'm like putting a period into that sentence. Like, I love Battlestar. I love Star Trek. I love all of these episodic series, but Andor just hits different. This is something that I'm lucky to be alive to see. Like, it is something that is cinematic. It is I'm holding my breath. I can't. It's not a movie or a television show. I don't know what it is. It's something that it's special. Like, am I the only one? Like, to me, this is something that things will be judged against going forward. Period.
I think it's really good. I think it's great. I don't even think it's my favorite thing on TV right now, though.
What's better?
Yellowstone.
No.
I would watch Yellowstone for sure before I'd watch Andor.
Not me.
I most weeks I have to remind myself to watch Andor, and it's not because it's not good. I really like it. I think, and it is amazing. Like the quality and everything about it is amazing. For me, it just tends to be a little slow. Like, for as long as it is, it tends to run a little long in the tooth. There's a lot going on, but it's a show that I have to be in the mood to watch, because I have to sit down, I have to focus, I have to, I have to be ready for it. Like, I was just talking about Warrior Nun. It's not a good show, but I watched the whole thing in 2 days. Or when it is done, I cannot go sit back and watch the 12 episode run in 2 or 3 days. It'll take me like a week or two, because I can't watch 3 episodes or maybe I can watch 3 episodes in a row, because they're each set of 3 is effectively a film or close to it. But it's a lot, and it for me, it's a little bit slow because it's as smart as it is. I mean, that is what makes it a good show, is the way that it builds everything. But it's slower than other shows that I think have more action and more character development in them. That's why Yellowstone has more interesting characters in it than Andor does.
More character development?
Yeah. Like so Mon Mothma hasn't really gone through much. She's gone through a little bit. Skarsgård's character hasn't changed at all. He's exactly the same guy he's been. Andor isn't really that different. He's just an angry dude trying to get through the world. Like, we still haven't seen I think maybe in this episode and maybe the one before, we're finally starting to see him fight for other people, because up until this point, he's been fighting for himself the whole time. The little girlfriend that he had, that's not his girlfriend anymore, back on the planet, hasn't really changed, hasn't done anything. Like, tell me which character has actually grown besides Andor in the show. Like,
I mean, I
they're
I
cool
would
characters.
defend.
I'm not bashing them. I'm just saying, like, when you talk about the characters becoming something different, or going through changes and going through these things, I think about a Rip in Yellowstone. I think about his girlfriend, whose name completely escapes me at the moment because I haven't been watching Yellowstone recently.
Beth.
Beth, yeah, like she's gone through a ton of shit. Like, there is more character development on Yellowstone than there is on Andor.
So, I will agree with you on that, but I will say it's because the characters have to grow in Yellowstone because of the adversity put in front of them. I will counter with Andor in saying rather than the characters are growing, that their layers are being peeled back. So they're not growing, more or less. I feel like their characters are being uncovered. You know, Skarsgård's a good example. Like, so far in the first 10 episodes, we've seen him recruit somebody. We've seen him be basically a spy. But as things traverse, the layers are being peeled back, where now he's having to confront an imperial spy, and we're seeing different layers of him. So
Andy, I'll jump in actually.
Go ahead.
So I think that I'm gonna read this speech. When he asked what's your sacrifice, I'm gonna get to that last part of the speech where he goes, what is my sacrifice? I'm condemned to use the tools of my enemy to defeat them. I burn my decency for someone else's future. I burn my life to make a sunrise I know I'll never see. And the ego that started this fight will never have a chance or mirror or audience or the light of gratitude. So what do I sacrifice? Everything. So it's like, even though this guy is stoic and hardened and is like, yeah, no, dude, like, I don't care, you have a daughter, you're part of this. It's like he's not removed from the anguish. He's literally like, no, I'm fucked, but this is what I've committed to. I made a vow. And that's the second or third time we've heard someone in the show say, we took a vow. So that is dope. So what you said, Andy, earlier about peeling back layers, I think that was a layer. We saw a layer of vulnerability and sadness that this guy actually is like a raging storm. It's a calm water on the surface, but under, he's absolutely, going through some torment there. So I agree with you there.
Yeah, and I'm not saying the characters aren't great. Like, I like all of the characters, but I'm just saying, like, if we're comparing it to other shows, I think Yellowstone does character work better overall.
Well, you're not wrong. Allie and I, we watched 1883 and Yellowstone, all the seasons in the last couple of weeks, like just binging, cocktailing, having some dinner, and have it on the whole time. You absolutely can't do that with Andor. You need to be strapped in, paying attention, and watching the show. You can't just have it on the background and like be eating pasta while you're watching it. You have to be engaged in it because it's that type of show. So I will agree. You just can't just put it on and binge 10 episodes, in a day, because it'd be taxing on your psyche because it is so much going on. But to me, that's what makes it better than Yellowstone, because it is something that it's special. It's special television. It's special. Yellowstone's fantastic, but Yellowstone is a glorified, and I love Yellow. I love Yellow. I'm wearing I'm wearing Rip's cowboy hat. I love Yellowstone. I can't wait for tomorrow night when it's on. But it's a glorified soap opera, and it's fantastic, and I love every second of it. But
I actually find Andor to be more soap opera-y than Yellowstone.
Really?
Yeah.
I find this so shocking.
Yeah, and again, I'm not bashing it. It's better than most things on television. It's certainly the best thing in the Star Wars universe right now. But it's also different. Like that's one of the things that makes it almost a little polarizing in Star Wars, is that it's so different than your original trilogy, than even Mandalorian. There's no, not that there's no action, because this last episode was very action packed, but a lot of the show is not action, where Star Wars in general, and that's always been the delineator between Star Wars and Star Trek, right? Like Star Wars is an action space opera, right? Like that's literally the description of Star Wars, the space opera. Star Trek has always been episodic, intelligent, strategizing your way out of situations before you have too much, action and all that shit. And so that's been the delineator between those two. Andor actually leans more towards the kind of the Trek side of the mentality, right? Like it's about the back end, the political drama and the stuff behind the scenes. Then, like I said, the Star Wars, where we have knights who are fighting their way out. You got the Jedi who are knights. You've got stormtroopers with lasers shooting every damn thing they see. Like, so it is different than most things in Star Wars, which is good. Like, I think that is what makes it like the best thing in Star Wars right now, is that it's so subversive to Star Wars overall. But it's just a little slow. That's my only complaint about it. It's just a little slow. It's not bad.
Andrew,
it's different.
Andrew, did you have that post on Facebook where it said, like, I think it was you, maybe I probably saw it somewhere else too, but like no Jedi, no stormtroopers, no lightsabers,
yep.
But it's still Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
And frankly, I feel like I've been waiting for that. Like when you talk about a space opera, or a space Western, really is what they're shooting for. I mean, I think this is the first time they've actually hit it on the mark. Actually, like what they've done with previous Star Wars properties, which is, seriously, that's more of maybe that's more space Western-ish, because there's a lot of shooting involved. But this is the first time where I feel like they've actually hit it on the head, where they're creating drama. And they're creating those moments of, you're not waiting for somebody to shoot it out to, get out of the corral. They're actually creating moments where you have to think yourself out. And to your point, Kevin, that is way more Star Trek-esque than anything else. But I don't know. I think it's the best thing on TV. It's certainly the best Star Wars property right now. And
for sure.
I mean, if I were to rank it, like, I think I mentioned it before, like I think it's like Rogue One and Empire are still fighting for number one, and then this is number two. Like, I think Andor is my and it depends how it goes. Like, there's still, we have 2 more episodes this season, then we have 12 more for the next season.
I think they have a 4-season plan too, if I'm not mistaken. Like, they want to do 4 seasons.
Wow.
If they keep this trajectory, this will be my number one Star Wars property. If it continues this way, like, I'm struggling keeping it below Empire and Rogue One for me right now. Like, I'm trying to find ways and reasons why it's not my number one property. If they throw a Jedi in there at some point, it's fucked. Like, it will be number one. Like, if Ahsoka shows up somewhere,
this is too early for Ahsoka. Ahsoka. Well, no, it's not. No, it's not. This takes place before the original trilogy.
Yeah,
it's after.
But she could still be around.
Where does this lay?
It's between Sith.
Well, it's before Rogue One, which is immediately before Empire.
Right.
So
or New Hope.
Oh, sorry, yeah, New Hope. The one thing that I do think that is very cool that they're doing with Star Wars just in general right now is they're tackling different genres of movie or of cinema with their new shows, right? So you had The Mandalorian, which is a straight up Western, right? Like, it's 100% Western. This is 100% a spy show, like in espionage, intelligence, all that stuff. Ahsoka is supposed to be samurai, Like
Right.
that's what they're going with for that. So like I dig the stuff that they're doing. So I'm actually super excited for Ahsoka, especially after I think it was Favreau's comments about Filoni's work on Ahsoka. So I'm pretty pumped for that one too. But it'll be hard to top Andor, I think, as the best show they've done so far. I definitely think for me, Boba Fett's at the bottom of the list. But Boba Fett as a character is always at the bottom of the list for me, so he can suck it. But yeah, it's good. I'm really excited to see where it goes because there's only 2 episodes left, right? We have this week and next week coming up.
Yeah. And I think that also the funny thing for me is when I was reading up on the all the shows, I will say hand over heart that Andor was the one I was least excited about. I'm like, really? Like, you're gonna make a prequel? Like, hasn't we? How don't we already know what happens? Like, what is this gonna be about?
That's the hardest part when you know, and I'll talk about that with Wakanda Forever. But
Yeah.
like when you take something where you know the end game of a scene or of a show or something like that, like it's really hard to make it continue to be impactful. And I think I think they did a good job with Andor. I think we have this advantage where it's far enough ahead of Rogue One that while we know he won't die, right? Like he can't die, so that does take some drama off the board sometimes. Like when they're talking about how the floor is electrified and people are talking about testing it, he's never going to step on it. Like some of that stuff gets taken out of the quiver there because you can't kill Andor. But everybody else can die. Everybody except Mon Mothma, everybody we've seen can die.
Everyone.
So
I'm actually I'm actually like really concerned about homeboy who can't swim. Like
did like somebody push him off and like help him swim to the shore or what?
Yeah, we don't know. Kino Loy. It's like I now care about that character. Like he literally, like the way he was able to, I want to get into the episode now. The way, like, when Andor's like, it has to be you. And so at first he like says what he says, and Andor's like, that's all you got, But then all of a sudden he just digs deep inside his heart, and those words just come
he just
out of
flows.
him. And I'm just like, yo, dude, like that was some epic shit. And sometimes I'm in sales. So I remember like I'd be called on to like give a pep talk to the sales floor. And I used to hate that shit because to me, it's like, look, if you don't have the fire within you personally, I don't want to fuck with you. It's just like, I need people who are self-motivated. Like I can help you, I can help motivate you, but if I have to keep motivating you, I don't want you on my team because you're just dead weight to me. But anyway, when I see scenes like that, then I go, okay, Andrew, maybe you're being too hard on the masses. Like maybe sometimes people do need a little pep talk like Captain America can give at in Endgame. It's like, but the way he just did that on that speaker, knowing, I think it might have been you, Kevin, who asked this question, or someone, knowing that maybe he knew that he couldn't swim, so he knew like it was kind of like futile for him. He still did it for the people, and that to me was powerful acting, powerful scene, and it made me give a shit about his character. So I definitely hope that we can't just be, it can't be cliffhanger. We need to know what happened to him. If they don't explain that, they will, but if they don't, it'll make me like the show less.
I mean, he could win an Emmy. I mean, really, from a performance perspective. I mean, what?
That's the thing. Like, as like best because he wouldn't be a supporting actor because he's not in enough of this, but maybe guest. Like, I'm trying to think what category he would be in because I actually do think he's been amazing. But funny enough,
it was incredible.
I think if he were to be nominated and have a chance of winning, he might actually be the only character from the show nominated. I don't know that anybody else would be up, and not because they're not doing a good job, but because
they don't play
it's kind of like what I said.
parts.
There's not enough stretch for the characters compared to some other shows. Like I don't think I think Diego Luna's doing an awesome job. I don't think he necessarily, his character in itself doesn't emote enough to take a run at an award.
The show itself could.
The show itself, it should win for cinematography. That's for damn sure.
God, it's so good. It's so good. How much of that? How much of that do you think? I mean, I think I mentioned this in our group chat, but like there's so much of the show. Clearly, I know there's green screens probably everywhere in most shots, but I do not feel. I feel grounded. I
Yeah,
feel
I
like
think those are sets.
I think most of it is sets. Most of it is sets, and most of it is outdoor shots, right? Like anything that they can is outdoor shots. I think when you are looking at obviously the stuff flying around behind
The windows.
the windows and things like that, that's going to be green
Yeah,
screen.
yeah.
But I think most of the locations are sets, unlike Mandalorian, where they were using that trick I talked about a few episodes back. I shared the little video for. That's super cool. But it is also cool to see something so practical work out so well.
I love it. It reminds me of the original Star Wars, right? You know, where
Mhm.
so much of the original Star Wars was practical sets. I love it. It just feels ground. I feel connected to it. You know, I when I'm watching it, I'm like, oh, this is like there's dirt there. Like it's not a green screen on a cement floor. Like they're doing things. I don't know. It's just a special for me. It's a special. It's a special show. Like it's something that I cannot wait. Like I go to the gym early on Wednesday just so I can watch it, just so I can be a part of it because I cannot wait. You know, if I didn't go to the gym, I'd be watching it at 5 a.m. in my bed. First time my eyes blink open so I can start watching it. I can't get enough of it. Like I don't want it to. I wish it was Days of Our Lives. I wish that there was just ad nauseum where it's on every Wednesday in perpetuity. Like I love it so much.
I just remember too that my biggest complaint about it is that you set up Andor and you set up his sister in the beginning, and they have completely dropped that storyline, and that's a little frustrating to me too. Maybe they'll come back to it. Maybe it's a season 2 thing or whatever. But it felt like in the first episode, I think it's the first episode, maybe it's the second episode, like that was like the driving force for his character,
First.
and now it doesn't even come up.
Mhm.
Like now it doesn't even come up, and so you're kind of like, well, what's going on with that? Like he got his escape before he got his dumbass arrested, and instead of looking for a sister or put any kind of extra effort, he went and got himself laid and then thrown in jail. Like, so there's a drop storyline there that I hope they tie back in the end, because otherwise it's a wasted string to have out there. And then his background, like that whole background story on the planet seemed like it was going to be a big deal. Like they were going to go back to that, and they just kind of threw that out too. So there's stuff I think, like, for as much as I do like it, they could be doing better, which is crazy to me. Because it is, again, it's a fantastic show. I love it. It's just not I don't think it's my favorite thing on TV right now.
Yeah, I think that was a strong statement to make. I don't know if I would what my favorite ever, especially since it's still not even over yet. It could still go really wrong. So I'm not one to count my TV chicken.
And there's also stuff that could go incredibly right? Like
yeah,
they could.
But it's just too soon. It's just saying.
Yeah.
I wouldn't make a definitive statement. And I'm still actually kind of curious to know what they're trying to say with the show, because frankly, I think it's more subversive than I think people realize. So that, to me, I want to see how this plays out, because I mean, here's one of the things, right? Like, they definitely seem to be pro, like, or anti-prisons, like, because I think it is a commentary on even the prison system. They call it the prison industrial complex in the real world here, and how prisoners are, for-profit prisons and things like that. I mean, it's a definite critique of that. And I don't know if people even pick up on that. I'm actually guessing at least half of viewers aren't even picking up on that shit. And then, even with Andor, it's like, yeah, he was innocent, when they sentenced him, but he wasn't innocent. Like, he's done
he was innocent of the crime that they were charging him,
right?
Yeah.
But he's not an angel, which again goes into the real world. A lot of the people who get into trouble, one of the critiques are, well, that person who that happened to, they weren't angels. Like they had a prior record, and that's Andor. But this show is humanizing that into that kind of person. So again, for me, what I find revolutionary, just like BSG before it, is that it's making social statements that are pretty, again, I keep using that word, subversive. These are not the kind of statements you can make just out there. You have to clothe it in allegory. And that's what science fiction has always done. It's always taken quote unquote toxic subjects, whether it's race, whether it's whatever, and make it a metaphor. Make it the Klingons and the Federation versus the Russians and the fucking Americans. Like, that it's the whole it's that all over again. But this time around, it's it's basically the proletariat. It's kind of social. It's like we are uprising against the capitalist, like authoritarian regime who is like oppressing us. That's what Andor is. And
I loved how you could see the people that were working for the Empire that think they're doing the right thing. Like in the early episodes, like they were just cogs in the machine, thinking they were just doing their job or doing the right thing, not realizing that there's things being affected down the line. That it really does affect people. Like when she literally is like, there's some bad shit happening, and dude's like, yeah, go finish your TPS reports. You know what I mean? Like just everything was paperwork and all that. And I thought that was, for as unexciting as it was, like as a storyline, it was a brilliant storyline because it really shows you, if you're far enough removed from the thing at the end of the line, you don't even know there's a thing at the end of the line.
Yeah, you are absolutely part of the thing. So yeah, that's all I'll say on Andor. But no, it's a strong show, and there were strong performances both by Serkis and Skarsgård, and I frankly, and the prison arc is over. Good. Let's get
let's get to our fourth and final storyline of the season.
So just spitballing. I don't have an answer actually at all. But what do you think of our company person? The person who
Cyril?
who had tailored his uniform with extra piping. Like, he is so pro Empire and so pro. I mean, he is like a Trumper, basically, right? He's like. He's a person who's definitely has an AR-15 in his closet, right? And he's going to go defend the ballot offices and stuff. But I don't. Where does he?
I don't think he's
fall?
that courageous, though.
He's not.
He believes what he believes, but he doesn't have the stones to really to fight. Like if you watch him in the episode when they're going after Andor, like he struggles. He struggles to be the tough guy. He's a follower is what he is.
But I don't think he'll struggle the next time. I mean, I think that he's been tested and tried and he failed. But the way he goes after her,
agreed.
In the sense that that could end his life basically.
Yep. But he's going after her for somebody new to follow.
I agree with that. I do agree with that, but I don't think. I think his mantle was tried, and he failed. And in that failure, go ahead.
I don't think anyone is going to be on their first sortie, which that was his first sortie, is going to be like Mr. Rambo. I think he was in theory, he's like, oh yeah, I'm down with the fucking team, whatever. He actually gets out there. There's bullets whizzing by his head. He's like, oh fuck, he's actually I think reality sets in. So
yeah, for sure.
But I do think that he is, and we talked about it on the last episode. I think that with a lot of these quote unquote true believers, it's because that's all they have. They have nothing else going for them. So he's got an emotionally abusive mom. He is kind of a loser, and this gives him it gives him a backbone. It gives him a reason, something to believe in at the end of the day. So what was your question as far as Cyril? You had a question about him?
Well, so You're right. Well, I guess it's two things. It was only one thing until you said gave him a backbone. Because I do, now you said that, it gives me a different perception. Like, his storyline is giving us like a reason to almost like the Empire, like order, like, you know what I mean? Like, they did wrong things, so we need to put them back in the right place, right? But my question initially was like similar to the, not similar. That's not fair. The sister thing, right? That kind of just fell by the wayside. But like, what? I don't really know yet what his arc is. Right now, he's just a dude who is, pro Empire, and he wants to get in with his chick, and he wants to find Andor because he wants to, he's almost like, autistic to the point where he wants to get Andor because Andor killed the guys that put him out of his job. But he's not like a character that we're aware of in Star Wars, right? He's not. I don't know that name.
I'm interested in him because, again, I just saw him as someone who, like, actually has, like, he wasn't bland to me. He was someone who actually had like passion for something. And I want to see him and Ice Queen. I think her name is Deidre or Deborah or something. I want to see them.
I love her.
I want to see them do something. And hopefully they will. Like, he is causing her some emotional shit. Like, she's like, oh damn, like, I think she kind of might like him, and that's awesome.
They're gonna bone. They're gonna bone.
Bonnie and Clyde, man. But Bonnie and Clyde for the Empire, So I'm with it. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, I fucking love it. I don't know. I just that show gives me the feels in the pants. I can't get enough of it. It's so fucking good. It's so good.
Yeah. Speaking of things that are good, since we buried the lead on this one, I'm gonna make a hard shift to our friends in Wakanda here. Before I start talking, I'm going to tell my Wakanda Forever story because it made me laugh today. My youngest son, my family's gone to every single Marvel movie. All 5 of us have gone together to see every single Marvel movie, other than maybe the first couple because my kids were super young. But especially in recent years, like, it's been the family trip, right? Well, my youngest, in the middle of the week, comes to me and he's like, "Hey, I got invited to a birthday party." I was like, cool. I was like, I was excited for him because he doesn't necessarily have a ton of friends out here yet. And he, still meeting people. He's never really been one to really give a shit about other people. So for him to get invited to a birthday party, I was like, that's a big deal. That's cool. And so of course I said yes. And then I was like, when is it? And he's like, Saturday at 11:30. And I was like, dude, that's when we're seeing the movie. And so I kind of put him on the spot and I was like, look, you're going to have to pick. If we can't pick our times and we can't go and change our tickets for something else, which I would have done for him, I told him, you're going to have to make a choice. So, do you want to see the movie or you want to go to the party? And so he chose the party, and we went and checked the tickets. And sure enough, the way that we bought them, there was no refunds or exchanges. And so his mom, my wife, decided to stay home with him, get him to the party, and deal with that. So it was me and my 2 oldest sons went and saw the movie. And so, that's fine. That's cool. Like, I still, still get to see the movie. So I get to the theater, I got my 5 tickets, even though there's only 3 of us. We go in and we get into the theater. And the one thing I'll say too, that I thought was really cool in a weird way is that I've always said that the only thing in Connecticut whiter than the snow is the population. There were a ton, like the majority of people in the theater I was in were Black.
Cool.
And that's like, I was actually like, I felt that, like, I was like, dude, that's cool, because talking to my kids about it, I was like, you guys are lucky. You go to the movies and you see yourself on the screen everywhere. When you read the stories about how pissed off everybody is about the new Little Mermaid and how it's, Halle Bailey. And then you read a story about a little girl. It's like, oh, that could be me, right? Like, that's a big deal. Like it's important to see yourself on the screen. And so, like I remember when the first Black Panther came out, and kids were like little black kids were all excited. They could dress up like they're superhero, you know. And so, like looking around, I was like, this is cool. I was like, this is cool because like I really do like Connecticut's a white ass state. Like there's a
So I've heard.
yeah. And so so that was dope. So anyway, so I get to my seat, and sure enough, there's 5 people in my 5 seats.
Oh no.
And I was like, and so this lady sitting there, and I was like, you're in my seat. You know, I didn't want to be a dick, but I was like, these because I know the theater's gonna be sold out. And she's like, no, these are our seats. And I was like, I'm pretty sure, you know, I'm like holding the ticket in my hand. I was like, it's right here. And she's like, well, we just sit down. And so somebody else had her tickets with her. So the lady was coming in, and she's got her ticket, and she puts them next to mine. All the seat numbers are the same, and the movie time is the same. I was like, fuck, dude. So me and her walk up to the counter. Like, she's super nice. Like we're totally cool. We get to the counter, and she sets her tickets down, and she looks at me, and she's like, I am so sorry. She's like, these tickets are for yesterday.
Yeah.
She bought her tickets for Friday, same time, same seats, the day before.
Yeah.
And so like we're sitting there with the manager, and I was like, look, I don't need all 5 seats. She has 5 people. I only have 3. Are there 3 seats somewhere else that we could sit? And sure enough, one row up is the handicap row that they kind of don't fill until they have to. And so I guess they didn't fill that. So I was like, look, keep your seats. I know they're better than the ones I got, but I was like, keep your seats. The 3 of us will just move. And so we kind of sat. We were in like the first like row up, you know, not front row, but like the first row that's kind of elevated. And in the middle, and instead we kind of ended up off to the side, one row closer. It's fine. The screen's huge. So like there's no bad seats in the movie theater. You know, there's better seats, but there's no bad seats. So we watched the movie. I was just like, why am I going to ruin somebody else's theater trip if I can inconvenience myself just a little bit, and my kids will be fine. And
That
so
is a good story, man.
yeah, I was it's like you can go and you can be a dick and be like, yeah, I need my 5 seats when there's only 3 of us, you know, like, you know.
Yeah.
And so instead of it being a fight or a battle or making the manager uncomfortable and putting him in a weird situation, I was just like, just give me 3 seats somewhere.
You know,
So,
you actually embodied the spirit of the movie in a way, like the spirit of cooperation versus just fighting. Andy, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, sorry. But before we get into Wakanda Forever, because there's so much to unpack there. It's so good. But I'm just curious. We might have talked about this before, but it's worth talking about again. Gun to your head, where do you sit in the theater?
Oh, ideally I'm almost dead center.
I'm always middle, like, I mean, I'm always on the end. I always sit to the right, on the right side, like on the end, because I just like being able to I like easy access. I don't like to climb over anybody. Always go anyway. Our
theaters are all the reclining seats, and there's so much space between them that you don't have to step over anybody in the theaters that we have. I had a friend back in college who he would literally, finding his seat, would hold up his hands, because the idea was he needed to sit where the only thing you can see is the screen. So he would sit closer than most people, but not so close that it was, you know, overwhelming. But the idea was that the screen had to be his entire field of vision. And I'm not quite that gung-ho, but I usually sit closer than most people. I prefer to sit where we're trying to sit, in that first row that's elevated, but in the middle. So it's you know, so it's everywhere.
I am the absolute back row, the handicap row, right? Because that's where the elevator is. People can go in and out through the back. I want to be in the last row possible, in the middle of the theater. No, I saw it in Dolby.
Oh, okay.
But it's similar. IMAX and Dolby is pretty similar. in the experience, I suppose.
Well,
But yeah,
IMAX is huge. That's the thing.
IMAX is it's a bigger screen for sure.
Yeah.
But no, I prefer
bigger
Dolby to IMAX, really, actually.
I prefer IMAX for almost for documentaries and things like that that put you kind of into the situation. That's kind of what IMAX was in the beginning of IMAX. I remember growing up in Washington, and they had Mount St. Helens, and so you would always go down to the pier and go to the IMAX theater when there was only like 6 IMAX theaters in the country, right? Instead of at every single fucking movie theater. And there weren't many movies, so it was harder to get into them. But yeah, no, I am close, not front row center, but closer and in the center than further back.
What movie was it when he died where we had that really good Marvel sequence in the beginning for him?
Stan Lee.
Yeah. What
Endgame.
was it? Endgame?
I think so. Yeah, because
That-
Endgame
that
was his
was what-
last appearance, right? Back in the
Endgame was
past.
2019, and basically the whole Marvel logo thing was all Stan Lee, and that was his last appearance.
Yeah.
But
I
I go ahead.
I was gonna say I think the opening did a few things fucking brilliantly. Number one, they didn't waste any time addressing it, right? Like it's just he's already dying of a disease they don't bother naming, which is a good allegory to what happened because nobody knew it was happening in real life, right?
Yes.
And then you have the moment where Shuri finds out, and probably the most impressive thing that they did there was absolutely no music, no background, no nothing. See, the whole intro, the whole death of, even through the funeral, through everything, we felt all this through Shuri. Like every emotion at the funeral, every emotion there in that moment of silence, like everything that they did was carried through that one character, even though other people were dealing with it. Like I felt like she was the audience in the film, right? Like she was the one dealing with the things that we dealt with on the outside when it happened. And then I also loved that the opening sequence, again, no music. It was just all the little flashes
It was beautiful
of Chadwick, and I was just like, man, like
It was dead silent in the theater for us. And you know, and it's like I this might get a little controversial, but I know there was a whole recast T'Challa movement. It's kind of like that was like Marvel's version of like release a Snyder cut. And I mean, I'm sure there's, I mean, just after 2020, I just know that no matter what, there will always be people who have their brains wired a certain way. So even after seeing this movie, they probably still are recast T'Challa. But I'm like, man, you guys are fucking idiots. Because this was beyond like the most beautiful thing I could have ever seen. I'm holding back, guys. Like my status was literally like, I walked out of that theater. We're gonna go through the whole movie, but I walked out of that theater with feeling the same kind of like changed vibe I did when I saw the 2018 film. I was like grateful. I was like, wow, like this exceeded expectations and had commentary and heart, and it just like, and even topping the first Black Panther, even with Chadwick alive, was already going to be, I think, a tall order, because that movie came out of nowhere. Like they did not think it was going to be the success that it was. They didn't. And I'm in rant mode. And one of the things that I'll say is like, one of the things that they definitely fixed about this film was the action scenes. And part of me thinks that like, and this is my pessimism coming in here, I feel like when the first movie was made, whoever was working on the FX, or like, oh yeah, it's just some black movie, who cares? Like they probably phoned it in. They weren't really working at her on it, because everything else was strong about that movie, but the action scene, like the effects, they sucked, you know? And I feel like this time around, now that they know that, okay, this isn't just some black Marvel movie, like this is some real shit, like the action scenes weren't just like up to par. They were actually incredible.
Yeah.
So I feel like that was the one thing that, again, people talking about it really hurt the first film, but this one, not like, and even the budget, 250 million, I believe.
Yeah, it was
like,
huge.
and that's like, okay, so and all the other Marvel films were 150, and then Black Panther was 200, so that was already like a big gauntlet, that Feige threw down. Like, no, I believe in this film. But man, yeah,
Coogler's fucking brilliant. That's all I can say. Like, Ryan Coogler is fucking brilliant.
It was amazing. The opening sequence, I'm not joking. Like, I was crying.
Yeah.
The girl next to me was literally weeping. Like, I almost wanted to tell her to be quiet. Like, you're crying too loud. Like, shut the fuck up. I get it. It's super sad. I'm crying too, but shut up. But she quieted down after the sequence is over. But it was special. I don't know how it could be better. It was perfect. It was perfect the way they acknowledged him, acknowledged what he did. There, anybody who wants to recast him, I mean, they're not Marvel fans. They're not cinema fans. They're not fans. Period. They don't understand what's going on. They don't make sense to me. Like, they should go away.
They're short-sighted, and I think that they're also the kind of people who are at DC and at Sony and everywhere else. There's just short-sighted people out there who don't get the bigger picture. That's what I'll say about that. What I really liked about the film was how, with such a big hole, everyone stepped up. Like, they really stepped up to fill the void. And I gotta give props to Shuri, because Shuri, at the end of the day, was, as you were saying, Kevin, it was all through her as far as what we were experiencing. She was a central figure, but obviously, Shuri's mom, Angela Bassett, she really stepped up as well. And yeah, we're gonna skip around. I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't ready. Like, when her moment happens, you guys know what I'm talking about. Like, waterworks, because I was like, I wasn't expecting that. Like, I mean, like, but the way she went out was like, that's regal. Okay. I'm jumping around. Even from that first, what are those things called? Anyway, oil rig, but it's not an oil rig, but the vibranium detector thing, and then the siren song. I'm like, what? And then they're like,
I thought that was
awesome.
so dope. I thought that was so dope.
Walking off the platform, and then the music. I went and got the score, man. I think Ludwig is going to get another Oscar nomination for that score. I hope he wins. But then one thing I'll just be controversial. I'll say as well. I think that in real life, I don't know if you know this, but in real life, there actually has been like conflict between African Americans and Latinos in like LA or Chicago. Like, the shit is real. And the one thing I like about Coogler is that he gets that kind of multiracial thing, because if you saw Fruitvale Station, like, there's an Asian guy in there, so I feel like that's another thing that, like, and it's not just like a token Asian, like, no, he is actually like, he's one of the drug dealers or whatever. But it's like, Coogler gets it, and Coogler, okay, I'm really gonna go off now. So one of the things that I'll say about Coogler and Black Panther in general, that all the other films I don't think are doing as good of a job in, is they're being inclusive in a very organic and non-forced way. Okay, because one thing I'll say about this movie is absolutely a triumph for women, as in women characters. But it's not about like, oh, men are bad, or I'm a woman and this is awesome. No, she just gets the fucking job done. It doesn't even come up. It's just like, I'm Riri, I'm the queen, I'm Shuri, and we're doing this. And we're the Dora Milaje. Okay. Then you've got again, the Mayans or whatever, the Namor, like, that is, if I was Chicano or whatever, I mean, they're loving that shit. Like, we are being the Mayan shit, like, all of that is being represented authentically, and it's like, and it's not about like, it's just done very, very naturally, and no one's being shit on for anything. And I feel like that's the issue. I feel like when you go back to She-Hulk, it's like, women, men suck, where it's like, here it's like, no, women awesome, men awesome, Latinos or like Mayans awesome, and yes, but there's real conflict. Like, motherfuckers are getting killed, like, he killed her fucking mom. She's ready to fucking kill him, but then she realizes, like, yo, like, it's going to just cause an endless cycle. So, Coogler. Oh, I forgot to mention, of course, you've got even the Hobbit, like, Ross in there too. So it's like, it's really a one nation under a groove type filmmaking storytelling that, frankly, I don't think it's done in any other of the films. But he pulls it off, and he brought in the Latino portion, because they beat Blue Beetle to the punch. So Coogler's a genius. So Kevin, when you said genius, I just had it sparked that in my head, and I had to get it out there, because I frankly think that he does it so well, people don't even realize the genius of what he's done. And that, to me, that's why I have to say on this fucking podcast, no, you guys didn't notice it because he did it so well, but he did it. Like, he actually is super inclusive, like probably the most inclusive of all the fucking movies. So I had to get that out there. Andy, go. You've been wanting to talk for a minute.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I could not agree with you more. And the only thing I would add to that is that it was one of the first movies that I saw where I really didn't see race, color, creed, or gender. I just saw people as people. They were just people. I didn't. It was a triumph for all of the things that you just said as well. But I wasn't looking at her as like, oh my God, the girl is going to do it. I looked at her as like, she's going to take care of business. You know what I mean? Like,
and that's the point. And that, to me,
exactly.
is the point. It
Exactly.
so called out. It just is, But trust me, if you are a woman and you see that, you're feeling good. If you are Latino and you're seeing that, you're feeling good. So, like, that to me is like, so that's, I mean, that's the genius of it all. That's what I'm saying. Like, they're not calling it out, they're just doing it.
Totally agree with you.
One more thing. And then also, I think that the thing that but binds everyone together, frankly, is excellence. I feel like that's a value that that Coogler certainly has. Like, just be fucking excellent. Like, I don't care what you are, just be fucking excellent, okay? And everyone stepped up to the plate and was excellent at what they did, both as actors and then also just as their characters in the movie. I mean, Ross, dude, he was smart enough to, like, talk with the beads. Obviously, like, unfortunately, his fucking wife is like one step ahead of him.
Well, I love that they, like, that was so subtle, but they tied those two characters together.
Yeah.
In a pinch, right? Like, nobody knew that. Nobody even ever thought about that.
Yeah, we didn't know that. That was not in the comic books. That's new to us, right?
Yep. Yeah, so that was cool. I'm trying to think of all, like, the other little Easter eggs. I mean, for me, actually, you mentioned Riri, and she was fine, but I felt like they probably could have made the movie without her. Like,
Kevin, I freaked out. Okay, so I was talking to my boy, and I said, Riri, like, he's from Chicago, so he's very proud of Chicago. And of course, when I saw the Chicago flag in the room, I'm like, dope, right? But Riri, yes, was the weakest part of the movie, in my opinion, but because she felt like the most phase 4 of the movie.
Right,
like, some of the jokes weren't landing, but I still think that, but Riri, you were the weakest part because everyone else was so fucking A game. Like, so like, if you would actually be dope in another movie, but like, because everyone was so dope in this movie, like, you were like, but you were still good. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm still But
I just think she didn't necessarily bring much to this story as it was. It was introducing her character, so that we're ready for her later. But it just kind of
wait. She was fine. She was the point of the conflict. Like,
she was definitely the catalyst, like, right?
Namor was ready to fucking, like, Queen. I'm so embarrassed. I'll call it Angela.
Yeah,
Bassett. She died over her ass.
It's like Rakunda or something like that. it's like right there, and I can't remember.
After this podcast, I'm never gonna forget her name. But
but she they could have had that whole movie made, and then at the end, it could have been the end credit scene where they said, oh, it was this MIT person who created this, Riri, and then that's when we introduced her. Like, the movie could have been, frankly, I don't want to say better, but it could have been better without her.
Well, and I
And then
do
have her in the after action, you know, in the post credit scene where this is the girl that created this vibranium detection thing. That, frankly, for me, that would have been better. I would have preferred that.
they needed her to drive the plot forward. I don't know that they needed her in the armor. I think I think that was a little bit of a push, and I do think she was there for a bit of comic relief, right? Like she was supposed to be, but the funniest moment in the movie,
yeah,
was so fucking subtle. It's when fucking M'Baku walks into the throne room with a big ass carrot, and he's just fucking snacking on the carrot.
Yeah,
it was the funniest. Like everybody was just fucking died, because if you remember the first one,
yes,
you remember when he's got fucking Ross shit in his pants. And he's like, "Just kidding, we're vegetarians." And like it's so subtle, but it really was like the funniest moment.
I think Riri was there because they also want to, the whole STEM thing. Like she's a young girl, and they want to encourage other young African American girls or girls in general to like get into cars and to get into mechanics and all that stuff. So I do think from a representation standpoint, that's why I meant by she was the most phase 4 of it.
Because, for sure.
Phase 4, everything feels a bit more kind of like, you know what I'm saying? Like just kind of, I want to say forced, but forced, so that's what I mean. So I wouldn't have taken her out. I actually said what at the exact same time as she did in the movie theater when they're trying to convince her to come with them to Wakanda, and they're like, oh yeah, well this guy with this seaman whatever, like, is gonna come get you, and she's like, what? Like that was great. So let's talk about Namor for a second. Dude, and after Namor, we're gonna get to like the surprise cameo on the plane, in the altered plane, whatever, the ancestral plane. But Namor, dude, he killed it, man. I was dope. Like, you got swagger, you're a badass, you not give a fuck. Like you're willing to use deadly force. He was convincing. I liked him, and I actually thought, and it was great. Like, there was chemistry, man. I'm sorry. There was chemistry between Namor and Shuri. And when he's taking her around and showing her the capital city and everything, it almost felt like a romance. But then I love how she's like, okay, I hear you and everything, but I'm not leaving without her. So we gotta find a peaceful solution to this shit. They kept it real, but I felt like his motive. Basically, when I was watching Namor and I was watching all the underwater shit, I'm like, this is what DC wished they could have done. Like, even the fucking effects and everything.
Even when they're riding whales and shit, and it just looked better. Like, it was so corny in Aquaman. It's like my biggest complaint. And
it was so CGI'd in Aquaman,
and it was darker. Like, that's actually my one complaint about the film, but not because of the film, but because of the theater I saw it in. I don't think they had their projectors tuned right. So a lot of the stuff that was dark was like really hard to see in the theater I was in.
Wait, for Wakanda?
Yeah.
Oh, darn.
Yeah. So it was a bit of a bummer, but if that's my complaint, then I'm obviously not complaining about the movie. I'm complaining about the theater. So, but yeah, like that was the thing too. Like in Aquaman, everything was so bright. I'm like, you're on the ocean floor, dicks. I don't care what you have lighting stuff up. Like, if you've ever seen those anglerfish with the fucking little light on their head, it goes about this far and then just dissipates. It should be darker underwater. Like, it was just so good. Like, everything about it was good. Everything about Namor was dope. He was great. Like, he was great because number one, he blatantly used the word mutant, right? Like, that was just out there. He's just like, I was a mutant. Like, I was different than everybody else. And then just the way he carried himself, like, if nobody had ever bothered him, he never would have bothered anybody. Like, that was the point. He had his people, he had his kingdom, he's good. You start coming down there looking for shit that isn't yours, now all of a sudden, people are getting too close, and shit's about to have to change. And I like that he recognized that, Wakanda is maybe not an equal. Like, I think he does believe
He can take him.
that he can take Wakanda, and I think he proved that he could have taken Wakanda.
Yes.
But at the same time, like he understands that
The bigger picture.
if you know, even if they could have become allies even then, like it would have been better for them. But he wanted, you know, he was ready to become the conqueror, right?
Mhm.
Like because he had his backstory where he came back on land to bury his mom, and sure enough, there were, you know, your Spaniards and stuff coming over and messing stuff up. So it was super cool. Like his character was dope.
I liked his two lieutenants too. They were almost seemed like siblings, but I know they weren't siblings. But
Mhm.
like the big guy, the warrior guy, and then like the woman who was almost like telling him like, why are you like bending the knee
Namora?
in Wakanda?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, Namora. Yeah, like they were badass. I want to see them, which is why if they do a solo movie, like, and I think Kevin, you commented, do we do it before or after? And I'm like, maybe they could do both. Like it's kind of like it skips around a little bit, but like I just feel like he really they did a great job. And again, like I said, if I was Latino, man, that's my fucking Halloween costume next year for sure.
Right? Like
I-
he was a badass.
I would love a Namor movie, like a first Avenger movie, like you know, thousands of years ago.
There's a lot
I
of
think that'd
time
be
to take.
awesome.
Well, it would only be a
1600s
couple hundred years ago,
yeah,
right? Like
1600s
because
to like now,
yeah,
but you
it
can
was
tell
like
a lot of stories.
16th century, so 1541-ish, I think is what they
Yeah,
said.
so that's cool.
That'd be amazing. That would be. Can you imagine conquistadors in like, and Namor? It would be amazing. It would be
But
so good, and it would
it's
tell
just that
such
like
a
I feel like
different
they didn't
story.
set up a conflict though. I think what they set up is that he did what he did when he buried his mom, and then he took his people back and built their civilization. It actually really felt like
But
they hadn't necessarily been involved in much conflict.
there was
You know?
hundreds of years between his birth and his mom's death.
No, I think his mom
I
died pretty
feel.
quick.
Yeah, she was a regular
Nah, I don't think
she
so.
was normal. She was
Yeah.
normal. Well, their new normal, but she was normal. But he's the one that seems like he's living forever. But I just when she died, you know, they had that conflict. He messed stuff up, but it really felt like he took over as leader even as a child. Like he was still young there. He was like 13-ish. Took his people under the water and just built a civilization. They built their own sun. They did all the things they needed under the water. But it just didn't feel. It felt like while he was always ready for conflict, it didn't necessarily feel like they went out and had any conflict before that. They may have, but I feel like if they had, they would have just dominated. You know, with what they had down there, they were already a power.
Well,
so,
we don't know. You know, we don't know.
We'll
Maybe
find out.
Apocalypse showed up. I'm being silly now. What am I forgetting? There's something else I wanted to mention, and it's gone right now. But there was something else besides fucking Namor. Damn it. Okay, whatever. I'm skipping around now. So, man, like, there's more to talk about, but I'm just gonna skip right to the end. So, man, okay, so after the movie is done, pretty much, and okay, no, I remember now. Fucking Killmonger. So when she goes to the ancestral plane and Killmonger's there,
like I knew it. Like I knew it when she was behind the throne and she was starting to walk around.
you know, okay.
I was like, it has to be. Like I don't know why, because you know it can't be T'Challa, unfortunately. Like it just can't be because they're not going to CGI.
Oh right,
you know,
right,
so it can't be him. So it's either the mom, maybe her dad, right? Like, but that would have been such an outlier, or it's Killmonger.
But he's dead too,
right? But it's the ancestral plane. She would only see dead people.
Well, I mean, in real life, like
I didn't know the actor. Is he dead too? I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you know I'm almost certain that he's dead too.
Yeah. So, but like Killmonger made sense. So when she was
so much sense. Yo, keep going there, Kev. Go.
Yeah, it was just dope. It was just dope because like he's like, look, you're mad, you want to fuck shit up. He's like, that's who I am. I'm mad and I want to fuck shit up. So
And I
let's
loved how he broke down like how like T'Chaka was a hypocrite, and T'Challa was too
too
noble,
noble.
which again goes back to like why I love Civil War so much, because T'Challa in Civil War was like, I'm killing you, man. Like he was ready, he was pissed, and then finally at the end he's like, after seeing what happened with Cap and fucking Winter Soldier, he's like, hate and vengeance and revenge has consumed all of us. We need to stop this shit. And he doesn't, and I think that was in a way, that was the birth of like King T'Challa in Civil War, like him calming the fuck down. Shuri, though, what I love about Shuri is that Shuri is a fiery motherfucker. And that's the other thing I love about, I'm getting chills now. Other thing I love about Shuri. Okay, so when they have their fight, like, okay, Riri figured out, I think Riri might figured out the whole evaporation.
Yeah.
So that's good. That's dope on Riri's part. So when her and Namor had their fight, man, that felt real. Like that felt like there was emotions there. They were fighting to the death, whatever. And when Namor like actually throws a spear through her fucking chest, that was some like Iron Man on Titan shit. And I was like, yo. So it's like I feel like a lot of times, I'm not gonna say that. What I'm gonna say though, okay, a lot of times, sometimes the shit feels unearned, like it feels like too easy. Like, hi, I'm She-Hulk, and I can just control my powers. Yay! No, none of that shit with fucking. So you guys smell what I'm cooking there. Shuri fucking literally is like impaled against a rock, and she's like, oh hell no, I am not letting this motherfucker get away. She fucking cuts off the thing, pulls out the fucking spear. Thank God she has that herbal fucking heart-shaped herb, because otherwise she'd been toast. And then she literally like flambés his ass. And
that
then
was dope. That was dope.
So dope. And then she literally has the knife to his throat, like ready to go. And that's when she's like, her mom finally says, show them who you are. Like, dude, that was some powerful shit, man. Like it was just so powerful. So and what was great too was because it was a good juxtaposition, because back on the boat, like the Wakandans are losing. Like they're like literally at the edge, and the fucking Atlanteans. Why call them Atlanteans? What do they call them? Mayans? What are they called?
Telecon was the name of the city.
Telecon. I love that fucking name. Telecon. It just sounds like. Anyway, they're winning. So it's like, okay, if I kill this motherfucker, it's on. Like it. So we're at the precipice. Okay, I should kill you. You kill my mom. You kill my fucking mom. Okay, just like T'Challa, you killed my fucking dad, you fucker. But he doesn't kill that. It takes such. But you still know that, okay, even though she didn't do it, like she's still more fiery than T'Challa, and I love the fact that she has her own identity, and that's something that's also really hard to do, and she pulled it off, and that's my segue into when you finally go to Haiti and you see T'Challa's new son, and I love that he said, man. Tears started forming when he says, "My real name is King T'Challa." I'm like,
or Prince T'Challa.
Prince T'Challa.
My father was King T'Challa.
Yes, and then, but then at the beach, and then boom, montage of Chadwick took me out. That was the gut punch. That was like, and then that's when I was like, you know what? This was the perfect film. You could not have done better. And I haven't even talked about the music, and we're not going to talk about the music because we're talking too much about this damn movie. But like, it was literally like, holy shit, you did it. Like, and this movie was long too. It was like 2 hours and I think 40 minutes.
41 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, but it didn't feel like
it did not. The only reason I ever looked at my phone is because I thought my bladder was going to fucking explode halfway through the movie, and I did not want to miss a minute. So I was like, please just get to the end. I was like, but like, if it wasn't for that, I never would have looked at my watch. It did not feel like 2.5 hours, 2 hours, 40 minutes. It moved, man. That movie booked it. Like it was good, man. And I think, I think Andy, you said it, you put it in your top 5. It's in my top 5. I put it in my top 5 easily right now. I need to go back and finish my rewatch and see where that really fits in. But I mean, like I said, maybe Riri was a little either underutilized or forced in or whatever. But
yeah,
but she worked. I mean, you just pointed out that like the things that she does in that movie are things that drive the film. So maybe they didn't do enough with the character as the character, but as a story piece, she was very important. And so, you know, she kind of belonged there, even if they didn't do enough with her. But I mean, where's the flaw in the movie? Like, really, you took an impossible situation, closed it out in 15 minutes in a perfect way, and then moved on with this story. And then at the end threw in this like gut punch twist that says, you know, because the other thing that happens at the end is M'Baku shows up and he's like, hey, she's not here, I'm going to challenge for the throne. And you're like,
And I hope he gets it, obviously.
I actually do too. Like I've always liked his character. I would like to see him do something. And then, you know, in what, 5-10 years, you know, have, you know, young T'Challa show up and challenge for the throne himself, you know, like you can do that. But I loved how he was the supporting character for Shuri all the way through. He's like, I promised your mom, I promised your brother, I promised you did, like, and he was there for her in a way that he never would have been in the first film if it wasn't for T'Challa.
And respected her wishes and still listened to her, like, even though she was like, yo, I'm killing these motherfuckers. He's like,
yeah,
I mean, I don't agree, but
yeah,
fine, you know, and that was great. Oh my God. Oh, okay. Here's a tough question I've asked myself in my head, and it almost feels sacrilegious. So I refuse to answer it, or actually I have an answer, and it's going to be a cop out. But was this better than the first Black Panther?
It's a trick, man. I think it was a better film. I think Chadwick was the better character in the first one. I think Chadwick did such an amazing job with that character that he was untouchable. So that's another reason that I think he was not replaceable. Yeah. Right? If it had been a decent movie, but you know, he'd only been kind of okay, or he hadn't been the guy that he was, maybe they could have recast T'Challa. But I think you couldn't. I think it was Chadwick that you couldn't recast, not the Black Panther that you couldn't recast. And so, but I think this film was better. Although, again, Killmonger was a fucking dope ass villain in the first one too, because his motivations, just like Namor, the motivations were real. Like, they weren't just like, oh, I'm a power hungry asshole that wants to fuck shit up. Like, he was mad about legitimate shit. And I think, you know, that works. I think when you make your characters that real, I think it helps your story. Go ahead, Anthony.
If I were to pick between which one was better, I would pick this one. Wakanda Forever would be higher on my list than the original Black Panther for like 15 different reasons, like, and I won't go into them. But if I were to pick which one I want to, which one I would want to watch again right now on my TV, I would rather watch Wakanda Forever than Black Panther. Black Panther was fantastic. I enjoyed it. I watched it this week in preparation for this film. But Wakanda Forever was a special film. It paid homage to Chadwick. It paid homage to the Black Panther character. Like, it gave us a reason to want to have Black Panther be success. It was great. It was fantastic.
And my answer before we move on, if the host is down with that, is that they're a unit to me. So, like, you know, I love, and I can't believe I'm just saying this now. I love that consequences are back in the MCU, because I'm sorry, I feel like the phase 4 has been pretty consequence free. Everything feels like reversible and not. I mean, yes, obviously Fireman, there's some consequences, but it's like even the heart-shaped herb, like when Killmonger says, "Oh, burn all this shit," you know, that it led to fucking T'Challa dying. Like,
it inadvertently, like, obviously that wasn't planned.
Yeah,
but it worked. Like, Yeah.
it's like something from one movie carries over to the next. Like that doesn't really happen a lot either. Like they find a way to fix it. Yes, they fixed it, but it wasn't like, oh, we can just like fix it. Like, no. This was literally like from the opening scene to towards the end. That's how long they've been trying to figure this shit out. So I like that. I like the fact that people actually get killed. Like I just felt like there was more gravitas and more seriousness, but they are a unit. I feel like a huge part of why this film works is because of the first Black Panther. So if you don't have that, you don't have the heart and soul of this film. So they are a unit. It's my final answer. I'm sticking to it. But yes, I do think that visually, as an experience, this film has given me so much life.
Yeah, it was pretty dope.
But it was fantastic, and I do think this sets up the Thunderbolts so fucking well. Oh my god! Like I mean, so the pre-post credits scene where Namor is like, they'll have to come to us because they'll attack Wakanda. Like it is so perfect. Of course they're going to attack Wakanda, and of course it's going to be the Thunderbolts because of course now they have their Black Panther back. They have their warrior back. It's going to take warriors to take down the warrior. I mean, it sets it up so fucking well, so well. It's weird. I mean, I wish Chadwick was in this movie, and I wish he was still alive. All these things are so true, but with his passing, it changed the MCU in a way that makes like this work. Like if Chadwick was still Black Panther, what would this movie have been?
I would want to stay away.
It would not have been this movie. Simply put, it just would have been a completely different movie.
Yeah.
I know
Right.
that Ryan Coogler wanted Namor, so that would have been it would have been Chadwick doing a lot of the things that Shuri did.
Exactly.
I think he probably still would have lost his mom. You know, I think you can kind of see if you look at it how they would have done some of the stuff. Like they would have pushed him more towards Killmonger's rage and stuff like that. But his passing led to a different way to tell that story, I think.
Yeah, and they made lemon out of lemonades, you know. So lemonade. I mean,
lemonade out of
lemons, you know. So it's like, oh my god. So I almost don't want to. I don't want to give credit to tragedy. I don't want to do that.
Right. Yeah. Trust me, if I had my way, Chadwick Boseman was started in Black Panther 2. He'd be starring in Black Panther 3. He'd be all over Phase 5, you know. Because I remember just seeing the news the day he died, and like I was crushed. Like I had a hard time. Like I remember it seemed like it came so much out of nowhere that like there were news specials about it.
Yes.
Like that night, I remember watching. I don't remember who did it, ABC. But I watched like an hour-long like Chadwick Boseman special. Like it wasn't real. Like when it happened, it couldn't be real, but it was. And so like there was some impact there. And I think I don't think, you know, saying they took advantage of it is the wrong way to say it. No. But they rolled with the punches that they were given, and delivered something that again in 15 minutes did the fucking impossible. Mm-hmm. Like they did the absolute best they could. I don't know how that could have been any better.
It couldn't have been any better. No.
Yeah.
It felt like it really, like, you know, I had to just really quickly just say, like, I remember, you know, I'm a Facebook dude, so I'm scrolling. It was a Friday night, and it was just like his said, you know, we regret to inform you, blah blah blah, that, you know, Chadwick has passed away. I'm like, what? Yeah. And then it was a Friday night, and then by Sunday, they had put together that, you know, hour-long documentary, and I think it says a lot when that many people come out to talk about you. Like, you are clearly a really amazing person for your death to have that much of an impact. So yeah, no, in that movie theater, we felt it. Like we felt, and I'll say, like I'm in Manhattan, so like it was I would say it was majority like everyone. Like I was like it was like probably majority white actually. But but what for me it's like, but it doesn't matter. Like it transcended. Like it was, yeah. It just it was real. It was
Yeah.
real. Okay, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, we all hated Black Panther, and we hope they never make it.
Totally. 2 thumbs down.
Yeah, Tito.
Worst shit in the world. God damn it.
So we'll pick it back up by going to something that was really good. We'll talk about Don't Worry, Darling, which is now released on HBO.
Mm.
So the
so-
exact opposite of Black Panther, you had offset drama, you had just a movie that didn't quite live up to the hype that I expected. So when I saw the trailer for Don't Worry, Darling, I was actually ready. Like I was like, this looks cool. I was like, this looks like a little mind fuckery. It looks cool. And what was trippy to me is that I thought the performances in the film were fantastic. I thought Florence Pugh was amazing. I thought everybody was really good in it. I thought Harry Styles is solid as an actor. But there was just things about the movie that didn't work for me, and they didn't work for me in the message that she was trying to tell. And I thought somebody brought it up really well, is that, you know, she said, you know, in the in her stuff beforehand that like this was a woman-led film, that women were in charge of everything and blah blah blah, except they weren't. Like every woman there, except for of course her own character who had the knowledge of what was happening, every other woman was effectively being like raped, right? Like they were drugged and locked into this thing they have no control over. They have no understanding of it, and every bit of their own agency has been taken away. And if they start to figure it out or get pulled back, they literally get drugged and brainwashed and put back in.
I gotta add to that. So Kevin, it's funny you said that because I was reading up on, you know, a lot of articles about this, and she was actually proud of the fact that she was like, and men don't come in this film.
Yeah, yeah.
So she was like all about the woman pleasure. So it was her idea to have like Florence Pugh getting eaten out and everything else, you know. But you just said it. Like all the critics were like, well, what the fuck? Like, why would you like they're being raped? Like, what are you doing? Like, what are you trying to do? Like, you were just like, yeah, man. Like, it's yeah.
Yeah, like just the message behind the film was a mess.
Yes.
I feel like the ending, I didn't hate the ending. Like I liked her getting away and getting to the thing, but what does she do? Let's just say she gets out. She's in a room where her husband is dead. She's strapped to a bed. So her escape is that she's going to die.
So here's so basically the way I saw the film, this is the way I read the film, and apparently after reading all scouring the net, I may have given the film more credit than it deserved. So the way I read the film was that it's an allegory for real life. Okay, so when she basically gets out, like that's heaven, like that's like or hell, it's the afterlife. So we don't know what happens in the afterlife. Okay, but as far as being in a simulation, that's what the simulation is about. And I saw the simulation as like, this is the 1950s in this era. So you'll notice that it's not very diverse, you know, because in the 1950s, if you're of color, you're probably not allowed out there. And the one person of color who happens to be there ends up getting like kind of outed, like she's done first, you know. But she also kind of sees the bullshit first, you know, which is kind of like, well, civil rights movement, right? You know, or even slavery before the women's rights movement. So anyway, like, so I was like, so again, this is me reading into it and probably giving it too much credit and thinking it's smarter than it is. Okay, but that, so basically my complaint was, as you know, I just felt the first 2/3 of the film, I was bored to tears. I was like, okay, first of all, every time I see eggs and sausage being made or whatever, I'm getting hungry. Like, give me some fucking eggs and sausage. Okay, number one. Number two, I'm like, okay, you keep humming this damn song, whatever, right? But like, is your life really that bad? Like, I'm sorry, I'm being a dick, but like, is it really that bad? Like, are you really being oppressed? Like, yeah, it seems kind of whatever. But then thirdly, I'm ranting as I always do. Like, okay, I I'm single for a reason, okay? I'm about my job, okay? So when she's like, "Oh, I'm having anxiety attack. Can we go home?" And it's like, "Yo, like homeboy is being like feted by like the leader of this whole motherfucker. Is this his biggest night? And you just want to have a freak out session right now? Are you serious? Like, can you just calm your shit until we get home?" Like, no. She's like, "Ah." Like, I'm just like, I'm finding you annoying. So like, I just was annoyed by Florence big time, like up until the third act, because once I finally understand, oh, you actually were a surgeon, you had
Yeah.
a fucking life. Now I'm into the movie, and but then I'm like, you could have got to that a lot sooner than
Mhm.
you did, and then you could have done more about what actually happens after you wake up. So I just felt like the movie was structured extremely poorly, and you just wanted an excuse, whatever your name is, Olivia Wilde, to show some glamorous shit, some candy colored cars, people getting
Right,
eaten
because it
out
was
on
a
the
beautiful
table.
movie. It was very
Beautifully
pretty.
shot. I love Palm Springs. I
Yeah.
do. But I was just like, yeah, I like I said, and other people have said it. This is just basically a bloated Black Mirror episode.
Mm.
And you know, I like what you were trying to do, and it was a critique on the incel culture. I get that too.
Mhm.
Incels bad, okay? Just listen, kids, incels bad. But it was not, yeah, but it was I'm glad I watched it, believe it or not. I
Yeah, yeah.
I like the third
It's
act a
funny
lot.
because I didn't necessarily hate it. I just didn't think it was that great. I think it had the potential to be something much more than it was. And the other thing, the other thing I didn't understand is if he lost his job on the outside, right? Like that was the thing. He came home, he had lost his job. So she was working. How did he get her out of her job? Nobody knows. He puts her into the thing, and then he has enough money to pay this guy because there's no way
No, he
that
was
they're
working
paying
another
him to
job.
do it.
No, he was working another job.
Yeah.
Something.
So like, but I can't imagine like somebody's like, hey, I've built this entire virtual world. Why don't you come and live in it for, I don't know, $100 a month? Like, he's got to pay rent. He's got to, take care of her in her coma, whatever. Like she still has to eat and drink to live somehow, which they don't really cover, right? Like the
I never
human
thought of that.
body, yeah, the human body has to
Okay.
survive. And then on top of that too, like they never explain why she sees the glitches that nobody else sees. Like why does she get smashed between the wall? Why does she see the empty eggs? Why does she see like she just does. Like there's no reason for so many of the things that happen in the movie. That it's a weird movie, man.
Andy, I know you haven't said anything yet, but I have to get something out really quick. What I also found annoying was I felt like this is such a WandaVision ripoff, number one, as far as like the plane crashing with the helicopter, like number one. But number two, Asif Ali, okay, he's in both. Like I remember seeing him in this movie and going, I that motherfucker is in fucking WandaVision. I'm sure of it. He's like a Indian looking dude. Sure enough, he's in it. So I'm like, how unoriginal? Like you do WandaVision and you do Black Mirror, and like I yeah. So I almost want to hear what you liked about it, Kevin, especially for the first two. But I know Andy hasn't said anything, so I also want you to jump in.
The only thing that I will say about this show, and what I brought up with Ali too, is that, and I don't know if it's good or bad, but would either of you paid to go see this in the theater?
I probably no. You know what? As a matter of fact, no, because but my situation is different. I think maybe if I lived where I lived before, I might have, but like I don't think I would. This isn't a movie that I would have gone to see by myself.
The bad press
No.
turned
So
me off. The bad
so
press turned me off.
So,
I didn't want
yeah,
to.
that's
I
true
want to
too.
support
That's true.
her crazy ass.
but I watched this on the couch with the girlfriend and the kids, and we paused it 15 times. And like the seventh time I paused it, I'm like, I would not, if I paid to see this in the theater, if I paid $15 to go see this, I would be very upset. the fact, and it gave me pause, and I thought about it more like, so what movies do I want? Would I pay? Like these type of movies, I don't want to see in the theater anymore because they're not special. They're not loud. They're not, you know.
Well, and if she had done it right though, like it would have been a good like art house style film. I think it could have been really good. And I think if the press hadn't been bad, maybe it would have done
Yeah, but
been more
all
interesting.
those
But
all those things true, but in the theater, would you pay $15 to go sit in the seat to see that?
Well, again, I
my
mean,
tickets
I
are
thought
$5, so
I saw Black Phone in the theater, and I'll say I enjoyed seeing it in the theater. Do I think it's necessary to see it in the theater? No, I think that theaters are made for special effects, big
yes, that is
big
true.
budget films. But sometimes you go to a theater because you want to just kind of go through an experience. Like
No, I totally agree.
And
I
there's something to
totally-
be said for not being able to pause a film. Like
Yes.
you literally you have to watch it
Yes.
right now in its entirety.
Yes.
And maybe a film that isn't a huge spectacular, seeing it in that way
Versus
isn't the worst thing in the world. Like
Yeah.
you just have to do that.
As a matter of fact, like not to jump around, but if I had seen, and we'll get to it, if I had seen Barbarian in the film, like this start to finish, it would have been a different experience, and actually would have been better, because because that's a fucking roller coaster. But that was we'll get to that later. But to your point, Kevin, yeah, absolutely, I would have smiled and been like, wow, that was some crazy shit.
Yeah.
You're actually 1,000% correct, Andrew, because I did pause that like 5 times, only because I needed to like take a breath and like, what's happening? But in a theater, I'd have been like, oh my god, what the fuck's happening? You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't have the ability to pause. So Barbarian in the theater, like, yes, I would want to see that in the theater where I just had to sit there and take it. It gave me pause because I was like, yeah, this is a TV show. I want to watch this at home. I don't need to go to the theater for this. And I didn't like that I felt that way. Like I love movies. I love movies. If I could go see a movie every day, I would. No, I mean, period. I love going to the movies, but this was not a movie. This challenged me.
And I think COVID changed the way we see movies. Like whether we like it or not, like there are movies that you can watch at home, and there are movies that you can see in the theater. And it's always kind of been like that. Like you've always been like, okay, I need to go see the Marvel movies in the theater because they're huge. You need to see Avatar in the theater, which by the way, they showed the Avatar trailer, and I just don't give a shit.
No one does.
Like and like, so, there are the spectacle movies that belong in the theater, right? And it used to be that every movie you kind of had to see in the theater because that's where they came out. And now we're used to seeing so many things premiere on, even though that trend kind of broke down where they were doing both at the same time. Yeah. But all these streamers now have the budget to make their own films that are coming out directly to stream. And so, I do blame the distance to the theater and the time it takes me to get to the theater for some movies that I don't see in the theater. But like Black Adam probably should be seen in the theater. Like ideally the first time you watch it should be in the theater. I'm not going to do that. But I get that, like that's a theater movie. And I think that's there's a distinction there because there's so many movies that are good that you can see at home, but seeing it in the theater forces you to sit down for that entire 90 minutes or 2 hours or whatever and take in the film the way it's meant to be taken in. Yes. Most films aren't shot to be like, you should just pause it here. That's a TV show. TV show has, 15 minutes and then a commercial and then 15 minutes of commercial. They're written in act breaks. Even TV shows that are like Stranger Things that are never meant to be shown with commercials, the scripts are written in act breaks that leave you in a position where you could put in a commercial where it logically fits. And so it's just kind of how it goes. Like TV has I think it's a 5-act structure usually in a TV episode, whereas a film usually has a 3-act structure. And so it's a trip. And I think, I don't know. If a movie, I actually not sure that I paused Don't Worry, Darling more than once or twice. But legitimately, I think I only paused Barbarian once because I didn't have time to finish it when I started watching it. And so I finished it a little bit later. But I don't know. Do you have anything else on Don't Worry, Darling?
Yeah, I do. I wanted to basically acknowledge the fact that there was not one, not two, but 3 people in the MCU who were in Don't Worry, Darling. Actually, maybe 4. So we've got Gemma Chan, obviously, who played the wife.
Yeah. Yep.
When she actually stabs him and goes, "You stupid, stupid man," confusing as fuck.
Yeah. There's no point to that.
The way I read it, it was almost as if she might be in on it too, and she's going to take over because she seemed almost mad that Florence is getting away. That's how I read it.
The only thing I could see was like, oh, are they setting up Don't Worry, Darling 2?
Exactly, dude.
And this movie does not need a sequel. Like, it just doesn't.
No. Okay.
And so
Gemma Chan, Florence Pugh, Harry Styles, and I guess this Ali Asif, Asif Ali rather. All 4 of these motherfuckers have been in Marvel films, so I thought that was pretty cool. Just want to acknowledge that. But no, man, beyond that, I think we pretty much have just said Don't Worry, Darling is don't worry about seeing it.
Yeah, it's pretty mediocre. So the last thing that I've got on my list is Barbarian, which I vaguely remember seeing a trailer for it back when it came out. And I was curious about it or whatever, and then I forgot about it, and the buzz kind of built its buzz back up when it was releasing on HBO. And dude, I thought it was a cool flick. It was a lot of fun. I loved the stunt casting of Bill Skarsgård in the beginning of the film, because it coming off of Pennywise, you 100% expect him to be a psycho, right? Like the way that film opens up, if it was done in a different way, this totally could have been like the opening for like a Hallmark romantic film, right? Like
the wine,
like they could be in town for 2 separate weddings, get stuck at this place, fall for each other, have their thing, and then whatever. Like the opening of that film could have been anything, and it was almost a romance. Like it almost worked. And then when he goes down that basement, you're like, dude, he's luring her down there to kill her. Like it's all crazy, and you hear him scream. You're like, girl, don't go towards the scream. Like he's trapping you. And then boom, they fucking smash his head against the wall, and there's some kind of funky ass monster. And you're like, what the fuck? Like that whole like opening, like I thought it was fucking brilliant. Like after that, I was just like, dude, that was dope, because I was watching it, and I like part of me was like, what if he's not the bad guy? Like, what if he really just isn't bad? Because the setup is so there for him to just be the bad guy. But I didn't believe he couldn't be the bad guy. And then when it happened, I was like, dude, that was dope.
Couple things. So I think one of the reasons why I haven't really jumped into horror I'm liking horror more and more is because I think horror is just a sequence of motherfuckers doing dumb shit that I would never do. So you guys saw
speaking like a black man.
Yes, like I seriously, like I texted you guys, like, okay, this is why this has never happened to me, because I don't do Airbnb. Like I don't do that shit, man. Like when she's like literally like there's the key's not there or whatever, like all the things going wrong, I'm like, see, that's why I do hotels. Number 1. Number 2, this is a very small nitpick. Why the fuck is your toothbrush on the floor? It's fucking disgusting. Like why is like
right.
What the fuck? Right. Like I couldn't get past that. I was just like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Okay. 3rd, like I just want to go see like what? Like what are you doing? And then she goes back like for him. Like, dude, he's like, just wait for me. I'm like, okay, I'm leaving.
Yeah, I'd be like, dude, I'm convinced that's a murder dungeon and I don't need to go back.
Yes.
Like
just oh my god. But
so really, point taken. If we're in a weird house with Andrew and we go down to the basement, he's not going to be there when we come back.
No, 100%. It'll be like fucking Roadrunner, just a trail of smoke out the door.
I will call the police, and I'll tell them to
from
go
a
down.
car from 2 counties away.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not that heartless. I mean, but I definitely I would, but yeah, like I mean, just or I wouldn't even in the house, so I wouldn't. Fuck the house, man. Like fuck the house resort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Andrew, you and I, we're all on the same page. Like that was retarded. Like, and I know that's a bad word to say. I apologize for people who are retarded, but seriously though, get the fuck out! Like you
So,
go.
I
You
almost texted you
go.
guys. I almost texted you guys the biggest jump scare because it got me. I actually like let out a scream. I was like, oh, was when the fucking Justin Long guy falls in the thing, and then like she like goes, hey, like to let him know, like shh, like, but when she just that's I was startled. I was like, like I was like, yo, because man, the jump scares in that movie were solid. I it's great, and I was bracing myself every time. I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna jump. I'm not gonna jump. Ugh, like it just got me, dude. So good, so good. All right, yeah, I'm just gonna gush. You guys, Georgina, okay, she's hot, by the way. I know I always keep talking about hot people, but she is gorgeous.
She is very.
And she's only 30.
What else has she been in? Because she is great.
I looked it up. She hasn't been in a lot. She's oh, she was in Hang the DJ, a Black Mirror episode, by the way.
Maybe I did that.
But yeah, she's in and she's in Krypton. I never saw Krypton.
No,
but yeah,
that was good.
Black Mirror and Krypton, really, she hasn't done a lot.
Yeah, no, but she was good, and I love that. Like, you have that moment that finishes that first act, like that first section of the story, and then it's just like, you know what, fuck this, we're doing a totally different movie.
Yes,
and you got
like,
Justin Long in the car,
Allie.
and you're like, what the fuck? And then, like the way it all ties together, you got the crazy monster, you got the the poor homeless black dude who's like, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, we all know this is fucked up. Get the fuck away from there. Like he knows the whole story and everything. He's just like, just don't get involved.
I loved that, and I saw that coming when he said,
yeah, when he's like, she never comes in here much. No,
I was like, yo,
you never say I'll be right back,
beat
right?
to
Like
death with his own arm. Holy shit! Hey.
And then the moment, and then I think that was brutal. And then the moment at the end where she almost like, it almost seems like maybe she's not gonna kill this fucking monster. Like she's got the gun, and the thing is like, you know, it's like mama baby, you know, like, and cares about her, like she's worried about her, that she's hurt, like, and so she's like, and then she's like, fuck it, I'm out.
But Justin, even when he dropped the gun, I'm like, I yelled at the screen. I said, "You motherfucker!"
Yeah, exactly, right.
Yeah.
What the fuck you doing?
Oh man,
Yeah.
it was so good.
Yeah.
It was so good. If I gone on a date or whatever, like, I would have felt like, okay, we got our money's worth. Like this was a solid movie. It took us from start to finish. And I'll just jump into the social commentary because, one of the articles I ran across did actually juxtapose both Don't Worry, Darling and Barbarian, and it talked about how like both films are kind of a commentary on like the inherent bad nature of men. Because even Barbarian, when you really look into it, like Justin Long, of course, like he gets accused and sounds like he probably did.
Yeah. When he talks about it at the bar with his buddy, he's
Yeah.
actually kind of a piece of shit.
Yeah. But then when you find out like why, like I think she's called the mother, but like how the mother came to be,
Yeah.
like, whoa, dude. Yeah, like that guy was a
He was a piece of shit. Like, and then he ended up dying in the room downstairs. And I love that Justin Long's character is a dude that wants to be seen as a good guy, but is definitely not, because you have the moment on the water tower too where he's like, fuck it.
Like what the fuck? And this is after she goes back for him, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm like, so she actually is a really good person because she does shit that I would not. Sorry, like again, like sorry, like no, like
because like realistically, like sure, she survived that first night and that all went fine. But when she did her interview and that lady was like, why the fuck are you there? She should have been like,
yeah,
can you suggest somewhere for me to go?
Yeah.
You know,
Seriously.
like
Sorry. No, if I'm staying in a house and I see all these other fucking tunnels, I'm out. Like, I'm not even investigating them. And I love how at least she said nope, but then her curiosity got the best of her and she
Yeah.
went anyway. Oh my
look,
God.
if I rent a house and I go in the basement, there's a string that pulls open a mystery door. I'm like,
Nope.
I'm out.
Yeah.
We'll talk
I'm
refunds
leaving.
tomorrow. I got places to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but I did. I really enjoyed this one. I didn't expect to because I have kind of a long list of films and things that I want to watch over the next few weeks. One of them being Nope. You watched Nope, right, in the theater?
I did.
That drops on Peacock this week, I think Friday. So I'm going to watch that. There's a few other things. X is streaming somewhere, and then I think that's a prequel to a different one. I want to see those. So I got some good stuff to watch the next couple of weeks, but this one been on my list, and so when it dropped, I was super excited for it. So it was I was pleasantly surprised by it far more than I was by Don't Worry, Darling. Even though I went in with lower expectations on Don't Worry, Darling because of just everything around it. Yeah, this was a fun one. It really was.
I was surprised it wasn't an A24. I feel like this kind of fit the A24
Totally true.
mold.
Yeah.
Even like the what do you call when they have the names come across the
credits, like the
yeah,
opening
the
credits.
yeah, because that looked like A24 credits, like the same font and the same color and everything. It was
They probably knew what
very
they were doing.
yeah. I think they did too.
Yeah.
So I agree. We got to get Pete back on here. What the fuck?
Yeah, that guy.
Real life is happening right now.
Yeah, he's always got something going on, man.
I know, but for the people who are missing Pete,
I don't know that anybody does. I don't,
you don't think anybody's missing Pete?
No, his wife's probably tired of him being around so much, but otherwise, just Pete.
Just
no,
Pete.
I miss his stupid face. When he gets back on here, it'll be a nice relief. Have somebody besides me talk too much.
I was just gonna say though, I do remember though with Pete on, love you, man, but we'd be on here till like 4 a.m, dude. Just saying. No, but I love you. I do.
Yeah. So cool. I think that'll do it. I think we got what we need for the week. So we'll wrap it up here. You got any last thoughts on any of this stuff?
I was surprised we talked Andor a lot. I think Andor the most airtime of the entire show because Andy dropped the gauntlet. Like Andor is the best show on planet Earth. And Kevin's like, yeah, no, Yellowstone, baby. And I'm like, it's too soon.
Yeah.
But no, I think this is a fun one. And as far as like Black Panther is concerned, I'm hoping that or Wakanda Forever, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping anyone listening, like, come on, man, like, if you have thoughts on Wakanda Forever, like we did, like share them, man. Like it's more fun when we interact. I want to sound like I'm begging, but definitely
maybe a little
an impassioned pitch for you. We promise we'll actually acknowledge you. We'll give you a shout out on the next show. You'll be internet famous.
Yeah, the only person we can shout out is Leah. We shout her out every
Leah,
week.
we love you. I know Stephanie, you actually listen a lot too. So Canadian connection. See that alliteration I just did? Canadian connection
from the Canucks.
Yes. But there's others who listen. So thank you for those who are listening as well. The others. But yeah, no, I'm talking too much now, so I'm just gonna leave it alone.
Yeah. So with that, I'll say, thanks for watching. Definitely leave a comment, as Andrew said. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you next week.
You look like a silhouette, Andy.
Do I?
Mm-hmm.
It's a good look at this, everybody.
We could see your face better the last time.
It sounded like super like awkwardly flirty. Now you'd have to paint him like one of your French girls.
Oh, me?
Yeah, you know, like you look so you look like a silhouette.
You're so shapely.
Yeah.
That was my nice way of saying I can't see you.